Hi there, I'm Katie and welcome to In the Studio. Today we're going to be joined by Becky James, who's going to be showing us this beautiful altered jar. She's going to be showing us a variety of techniques suitable for altering to add texture and interest to your projects. Hi Becky, welcome along. Now, I can see you've made us a beautiful altered jar project.
I have. It's using the French Lavender range, so I'm going to show you some of the more detailed and intricate, I suppose, advanced techniques that you can use to add some of these sort of textured and detailed sort of elements to your project.
That looks wonderful.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about making the background. And with the background, what we actually did to start off with, or what I did was actually embossed it with gold embossing powder. You could think to paint it, but the thing about painting it is that even with acrylic paints, is if they get damp or wet or anything like that, that it can easily lift off the surface. So doing this, it's actually quite strong and sturdy. It makes it quite a strong surface. So what I did first of all, and I worked in small areas, but is to apply metallic pigment ink to the surface. Okay. And then we're going to roll that in embossing powder, and then we're going to heat it. And we're going to use standard heat tool, but what I would say is, just to make people aware, is that glass, when it gets hot, is heated, it gets very, very hot, so you don't want to be touching it. So when I'm doing this, using my heat tool, it's just the same as embossing a standard stamped image. But what I find easy to do when I'm doing this is I actually start at the top and get the top bit to emboss, so that it doesn't, thank you, Katie. So that what it doesn't do is it doesn't blow the powder right off. Because with a flat surface it's much easier to work over, but all you do basically is start to just heat it at the top, and then I work my way down. And you're also getting texture on there when you do that. The other thing I would just say as well is you can do this on your X-cut glass mat, because it is a tempered glass surface, so it can take the heat. Don't do it on your rubber mat, because it'll obviously make it melt it a bit and make it bend. Now, having done that one layer there, that's actually quite a thick layer, but if you want to, what you can do is you can add some more ink, and you can apply a bit more embossing powder and add a second layer if you want further coverage. So I've already done that on this one. We'll pop that there because it is a little bit warm and we want it to cool down. So the next thing that we're going to do is actually apply some paint to this. What I've actually done is I've mixed two, mainly the iris, the Artiste acrylic paint in the iris colour, but I've also added I'm just going to add a hint of amethyst to it as well. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to pull off a little bit of the paint here. We're just going to basically roughly paint that over the top. So you'll see a bit of the texture coming through.
Lovely.
Now, what I would say about this is I would leave this to dry naturally. Don't try and heat it up with your heat gun, because at the same time you're going to have all those, because you've got two things, acrylic paint and embossing powders, you don't really want to be heating those together and fumes and things like that. Make sure when you're doing any of this that you're doing it in a well ventilated area. So we would just pop that to one side and let it dry. So when we've done that, we actually end up with a surface that looks a bit like this. Now what you can do now then to get, to pull some of the gold through and actually get rid of some of this, the paint, so that you've got that mottled texture, is you can either use a scrubbing brush like this, and you can just rub it back a little bit, and that'll start to polish it. And if you want to take a little bit more off, just get a sanding block, a very fine sanding block, and you can just sand that back. So carrying on from that, what we've done is we've actually added, you'll see, it all blends into the background in the project, but we've added...
It's very subtle, isn't it?
Yeah, we've actually added the tissue paper. This is a Paper Mania tissue paper range, and we've added some of these printed tissue papers on here. I've just torn the tissue paper into small little pieces and paint the glue over the back. This is actually, I'm using Craft Planet PVA glue because it's nice and soft and it works well with these thinner media. And basically we're just rubbing and patting it down. You can allow it to have a bit of texture, so you can slide it to get the creases in there as well, which is another great thing.
So we're not worried about having to smooth it out perfectly.
No. Now then, to make this easier for me to handle, to carry on, I'm not going to, but what you can then do is to seal it, just get your glue and you paint that over the top.
Okay.
What I love about one of the products within the Capsule range, which I absolutely adore, are the lace papers.
Oh, yes.
They are just so beautifully detailed. But what I've done here is I've actually cut at an angle. And we'll just take that, pop that on there. And then it will easily just stick on there, and then you can just... And then from there, you see, I have inked it up a bit already, and from there you can build your borders around it. Now what I've done on here is, this is actually the French Lavender jumbo crochet border. I would just quickly pop a bit of wet glue on there. It won't come through, and once it's dry you won't even know it's there. And if you try and put, if you actually have a look at the finished one, a lot of my embellishment goes on this part here. So if you try and put your joins where the embellishments go, you're going to cover it up.
So you keep your joins at the front where you might think you want to put them at the back.
Absolutely.
At the front here.
Absolutely. And it makes sure then the project looks like it's just one continuous.
Yeah, it's completely perfect around the back, isn't it?
Right, now then, this one actually came as a bit of a surprise really to me. I was doing some exploring around with some of my tissue papers and things like that. But right in the middle of it was this one that said, where is it? Eau de lavande, which is lavender water in French.
Oh, perfect.
So I thought, right, we've got to make a lavender water label. So if I cut this out, I can show you how to make the little lavender label that's within the metal frame on the project.
Oh, wonderful.
And I picked one of the deeper coloured patterns here.
It's beautiful. It's a lovely shade, isn't it?
It is really, really lovely. And of course that's going to again show through my tissue paper. So just very quickly, we'll do exactly the same as we did before, but we're going to apply this to the paper. Just a bit of glue on the back there. Now this time you might want to try to be a little, you might not perhaps want the creases on it because you want to actually see the words. So I just hold it with one finger here and just smooth the tissue paper down. So with that then dry, what you can do is, I've already got this one here and it literally looks like a label. It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
It doesn't look like it's two layers that have been applied to each other. I cut it out, scrumpled it all up like that, and then just scrape the edges, and again with my chocolate ink pad, just go around the outside here. There we go.
Amazing.
Across the top, so you pick up the creases that are in there. And there you go, that's your label. Now,
very nice.
What we've done here is, to highlight it, I would just like to show you this little metal frame. Now these are actually flat, they're part of the Chronology range. When you actually, if you actually just bend them a little bit, you can bend them so that they're not flat, so they will fit round your jar. So what you can do then is you add your label on there. So you can do that. If we can just have a little look at the jar again, Katie, we'll just talk about some of the elements here that we've used to decorate it. So I've tucked in a little key here, that we've got a little metal key from Chronology range. And we've actually taken a selection of different flowers that we find within our product. So we've got Madame Payraud buttons, Victorian Christmas resin flowers which are just beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. They look like china.
They do.
They really are pretty. And then there's also these beautiful paper posies, which are just my favourite, favourite paper roses. And then here I've taken one of the pinwheels. You can see here. And what I've done is I've actually inked around the edge of it, and I've removed one of the buttons and added a Victorian. It's like a pearl. Yeah. Like a little pearl out of the Victorian charm. and we've popped that in there as well, so that you've got this lovely built-up area around it, and it flows, so that it flows right the way around the corner.
You want to cluster them, don't you, like that?
That's it. And just to balance that off, we've taken one of the little birds from one of the Paper Mania charm ranges as well, and that it's only small, but what it does is it takes something to this corner so that it balances that off. So that we're going to look finally just at the jar lid. What I've done here is it's actually this lid here. It's similar, and what I've done is I've heat embossed it as we did before.
Okay.
And I've wrapped some hessian around the outside of it. So all it is a little bit of hessian like this. You can use a hot melt glue gun to stick this on, and you just wrap it around like that. But the real big thing on this is the rosette on the top. And this rosette is actually made with French lavender jumbo rickrack. First of all, twist a little bit on the one edge together, and then I just secure it with a little bit of glue there. And from there, what we start to do is, if you look at what I'm doing, I start to twist this over, and then I move around, and then you twist. And then when you get to the end, all you do is all I do is I just pop a blob of glue there, and I seal in that edge bit there, and that holds it in place. Now, you can finish the centre off with whatever you want. I've put a lovely button in the side of there, one of the Madame Payraud buttons, but I've got another one here. And then if you want to, again, just to show you the difference, here I've added the chocolate ink.
Wonderful. So
hopefully that will have taught you a few little techniques that you can use to create a beautiful project like this.
Fantastic. Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for showing us those techniques. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed Becky's beautiful altered project today, and I've got lots of ideas for using on your own altered projects, as well as in your card making and scrapbooking and all your other projects as well. If you have been inspired, why not upload a project to your gallery at docrafts.com. People can pop along and leave you comments, and obviously you can share your ideas with everyone else there. We'd love to hear what you think of In the Studio. Perhaps you've got an idea of something we could help you with on a future episode, or maybe you'd just like to tell us what you think. Leave us a comment below. If you'd like to keep up to date with everything that's happening at Do Crafts, you can check out our Facebook page. You can find the details on screen right now. Until next time, happy crafting.